our software, which web framework should we use, which database should we actually use, how can we make the user interface better for the customer, how can we improve our product. So these things are, don't get me wrong, it's very important, but if we discuss just about technology the whole time, we tend to forget something. Architecture can be clean, but messing with people, that can be tough. And this is what I mean. I mean, we don't speak too much about how do we deal with failures, if we fail. What we do as a team. How do we actually deal with when we win as a team? What do we do? So things like that. This is our culture. How do we work together? How do we communicate? I think it's as much as important as having a clean architecture, having a great culture of working together. And this is what this talk is about. But you might say, Sven, all these things that you say today, that's profane. We all know this shit. We should do that. Yeah, sure. But maybe it's profane and you all know that. But sometimes it's also good to be reminded what's really important for us of working together, what really counts. And also, I talk about, in this talk, about being transparent on one hand. So being transparent, very important, that everybody knows what's going on. But then I also talk about being respectful, respect each other. And these two things go hand in hand. They cannot go without. I mean, being transparent and just rant about stuff, and on the other hand, don't respect each other, that doesn't really work. That makes a bad culture in your organization. So, but let's start a little bit with what is actually culture. What is organizational culture? And like every speaker, we do some investigation and we look it up at Wikipedia. Sure. So I did the same thing. I looked up culture at Wikipedia. And what does it say? It says, well, culture is about our habits, our beliefs, our language, our assumptions, all this stuff. And if you read this long article, it takes you maybe 10 minutes to read this article, you have this in mind. What is culture? I have no fucking clue. So you have no clue what culture is. It's a little bit like this thing here. I mean, what is that? Is that a rabbit or a hamster or a guinea pig? I have no fucking clue. It's very fluffy, and that's actually the same thing with culture. You can't really touch that. It's really hard to get a sense of what the culture is. So it's very, very fluffy, like this thing. Okay, sorry. I failed explaining you what culture is, so give me a second try, please. Let's approach it like this: a culture that the developers love, that we really love. So what do we like when working together? Well, beer on tap, yay, cool. So this is our Sydney office. We have a bar there. We can just get draft beer, so that's great. What else? Ping pong and free food. That's also cool. Just grab a Coke, just grab some snacks in the kitchen, and play some ping pong in between. Awesome. We love to do that. What else does our developers do at Atlassian? They're shooting around with Nerf guns all the time. People shooting each other with Nerf guns, also fun. Actually, the finance people are doing that a little bit more aggressively. I don't know, there's much anger in this group, or I don't know. But anyway, so great culture, isn't it? It's cool to work in a company that does things like that. No, that's not about culture. It has nothing to do actually with culture. It's a cool Silicon Valley kind of working, but you can have all these things, but behind the scenes, it's very stressful to work there. People ranting about each other all the time. So this is not really showing your culture. So second attempt, failed again to explain you what culture is. So give me a third attempt, please. Third try, and I start with a bad culture example. Maybe this works better. So it's before I worked for Atlassian, I worked for a bigger corporation, and actually I was leading the web development team there, and there was an embedded team, so writing embedded software, and our web software had to talk to the embedded software. So one day I tried to do something, and I found a bug in the embedded software, so I raised an issue in Jira, and it came back after a while, after one day, and said, won't fix. I said, what the fuck? There's obviously a bug in your code and you won't fix it. So what I did is I talked to my manager. that talked to the manager of the embedded team, that talked to their team, and they had a discussion, and we had a meeting after 1 week where we discussed it, and then they admitted, yeah, maybe it's a bug. Yeah, okay, we put that on our agenda. So 1 month later, I had the embedded software fixed. That doesn't really work. I mean, really, I could have fixed the bug myself if I would have access to the source code. I could have showed the people the bug and say, hey, I'm fixing it myself. So, and this is just, I don't say this is a bad culture per se, but it shows a little bit that something is wrong in working together. But why are actually companies acting like this? Why are people doing that? Why are companies doing that? I think we can blame him here. It's his fault. Great, it's Frederick Winslow Taylor. So he's famous for his Taylorism. Beginning of the last century, he actually invented working on the assembly line. So very efficient workers, they're doing repetitive tasks all the time, so they had just to put something together, very repetitive. And the good thing was you could predict what the output of the assembly line. Very important for their times. Very important. Very efficient worker. Actually, Henry Ford once said, I don't want my workers to think. They should come to work at 8, leave at 5, and don't think in between, just doing the repetitive task. But some people had to put together this assembly line. They have to think about how can we make that more efficient. So they invented the managers. Ooh. Who's a manager here? Okay, out. No, just kidding. No, I mean, managers, great. So they are the thinkers. They think about all the stuff and managing the work of the people here. And we see that still in companies nowadays. I mean, it's over 100 years ago, and we still see that in companies today, that we have the separation and that managers think they have to tell us what to do. But times have changed. Times have really changed 100 years ago because work has changed. We don't put just stuff together anymore. We have to use our brains. We have to be innovative. We have to be creative. And also people have changed. Actually, people just don't want to go to work and put stuff together and leave again. They want to see their ideas come to life. They want to see the software in the customer's hand and see how the customer uses the software that they built. Companies, well, I think there's a change there. We can see that. But they change very, very slowly. So, to sum this up, is in the past, we were a little bit working like Fred Flintstone here. You know, 5 p.m., the horn blows, yabba dabba doo, down the dinosaurs, home to Vilma. Now we are a little bit more like the Incredibles. Well, there is an important project right now that we have to work on. Well, okay, I stay 2 hours longer at the company and work on it. And then I take the 2 hours maybe off next week. So this is actually how we want to work today, or how we should work today. And I'm happy to work for a company like this that enables me to do this. I'm Sven. I'm working as an evangelist for Atlassian. Who knows Atlassian here? Almost everyone? Okay, good. Great. So we're doing, for those who don't know, we're doing tools like Jira, Confluence, HipChat, Bitbucket, all this stuff. And I work for Atlassian since 4.5 years now. And when I started, we were around 350 people. And were some cool people here, you know, looking very funny. Now there's actually our Halloween party. So we're dressing up like this, coming like this to work. But also over time, the culture changes. I mean, as I said, around 350 people when I started 4.5 years ago. Now we are 1,700 people. And of course, the culture changed, and we don't look that funny anymore. We actually look much more serious now. We're a big company, big enterprise, dress up like this. Actually, that's not true, because this is actually our formal Friday. So instead of a casual Friday, we sometimes do a formal Friday, where we dress up and have fun. All right, and we still have a lot of fun at work. So let me tell you a little bit about our culture. So first, a culture of innovation. Innovation is so important. It's so important for for you as a developer to be innovative, but also for your organization, because it goes like this: innovate or die. You have to put innovation in your product, or you could get kicked out of the market. Depending on which industry you're working in, it can take 1, 2, 3 years, but be sure you have to do some innovative stuff. So organizations depend on innovation. So what are they doing actually to motivate us to innovate? They tell us, hey, guys, go and innovate. Look at our values. Innovation is a big value for us. So do that. But work on your sprint goals too. You have to work on the sprint goals, but in between you can do some innovations. That doesn't really work. We all know that. So how do they motivate us? Some companies are giving you some money, giving you $500 for an innovative idea. And then you write down your innovative idea, you submit that to the innovation committee in your company, and they look at it and says, oh, we ran out of budget, but it's a great idea, but we have to now. No, it's not very, this doesn't really work either. I've worked for companies that does like this, and I never submitted a great innovative idea. But people have great ideas. So how do we motivate them to innovate? It's actually very easy. It's totally easy. Just give them time. Give them time to try out their innovative ideas. People have these ideas. They just need to see, okay, is it really something that does really work, this idea, or does that not work? So give them time to try the idea out, to work on their idea. So we're doing that at Atlassian. We're doing a so-called Ship It Day. We formerly called that FedEx Day, but then it was very popular, but then FedEx asked us to rename it, because when you were Googling FedEx, we were ranking higher than FedEx with our FedEx Day. But the thing is the same, to deliver something in 24 hours. That's what a Ship It Day or FedEx Day does. To ship something in 24 hours. You really have to ship something, and we do that every quarter at Atlassian. So a Ship It Day starts, before the Ship It Day starts actually, we're doing some brainstorming. So having some cool ideas, forming some teams around some cool ideas, but we're not allowed to start yet. And not just hacking. We're a very engineering-driven company, but there are also finance people and legal people, and they have great ideas too. So for example, our legal team, they're not very good in coding, so what they did is actually they built a whiskey bar. During a Ship It Day, they built a whiskey bar, so if you once go to the Sydney office, there's a library, and there's a hidden whiskey bar in the library that they built. So that's what they did at a Ship It Day. So Ship It Day, 24 hours, people stay at the office, some people go home, most people actually go home, some people sleep under the desk, but on a Friday, 3 p.m., we show and this is very important, we show our innovative idea to the whole company. And everyone is there, the whole management, CEOs, they are all there and see what we've created in 24 hours. And then we vote for the winner. With 1,700 people, you can imagine that it takes a long time, so we have some quarterfinals, semifinals, finals for that on different locations. And then we have a worldwide gathering for all Ship It Day winners, so we have offices around the world, and then we fly the winners from every office to Sydney to make the final. But showing our innovative ideas, that's really important. So what do you get out of it? So an example actually from a Ship It Day is something like this here. It's HipChat, and they have a universal translator built in, so you log in your language and it translates your chat messages into the other languages that other people are logged in. But sad that is, we will probably never put that into our product. It's a nice try it out, but the translation is very horrible there. So we will probably never put that in our product. But we actually started with Ship It Day projects like, I don't know if you know Jira Service Desk, ticketing system for Jira. That was a Ship It Day project a few years ago. 3 years ago, we started with a Ship It Day project, and then it turned now into a whole product. But normally you just get a working prototype out of it. You can work on it later, but it's just a prototype. But the more important thing, I think, is you get happy developers. Because this is actually the reason to create stuff and do stuff, to bring my own ideas and show that to the company. That's actually why I became a developer, because I wanted to do stuff and solve problems. So said that is Ship Days is something like innovation for the masses, because everyone in the company can have an idea. Everyone can have an idea, not just some people that work in the I don't know, innovation department or something like that and trying out all the cool ideas. It's really everyone can have a great idea and try that out. And ideas can happen actually to anyone at any time. So I have my best ideas under the shower or during workout. It normally never happen at work. But give them time and give them the possibility to grow their ideas. That's really important. Let's talk a little bit about happiness. We all want to be happy at work. I mean, there's no reason when we're not happy at work to go to work. So what are companies doing to make us happy that we can be very effective and efficient? So they do something like this. They bring us the summer parties. So the whole company comes together. We're celebrating. Yeah, great. We're doing the same thing here, Family and Friends Day. What else? Some team building events maybe, where you go river rafting or mountain climbing or something to learn about the strengths and weaknesses of your team and bound your team better together. And then we're also doing something like end of fiscal year parties. Last year it was Games of Code, where we have actually putting some people together, some from different parts of the company, some grouping these, and then having to do some tasks, let them do some tasks. So you learn other people from other parts of the company, you get to know them a little bit better, and this is what you do. So these fun with coworkers builds actually relationships. So you learn other people, you learn some people from the marketing department and get to know them a little bit better. You build relationships within the company, very important. And especially for these team building events, you learn about the strengths and weaknesses of your team. Actually, who's very good in extreme situations to react very fast, who have to think things more through. You get to know the people better of your team that you can also use for your daily work. But said that is, we do that once, twice a year or something. What are we doing on a daily basis? Actually, on a weekly basis. So we are Agile. We're doing sprints. We are running. And what are we doing at the end of the sprint? A retrospective. So we're doing a retrospective at the end of the sprint, looking back, what was good, what was not so good, what should we improve in the next sprint, and then we go on to the next sprint and sprint again, and then on to the next sprint and on to the next sprint, improving all the time. I hate that. It sounds like we're just running, but actually, a favorite movie of mine is from the 80s. That shows a little bit my age, but it's actually Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Ferris says a very important sentence in that movie. He says, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And that's what we're also missing in software development. We don't stop and look around and say, wow, look what we just did. Isn't that awesome? That feature, great. We worked for months on that feature and now we shipped it. Awesome. We should actually stop and celebrate our team wins. Stop and celebrate what we just did. Not just running and improving all the time. Just stop and look back and say, wow, cool. That's great shit that we just built here. So what you could do is you could organize a release party. Go out, invite some people, organize a party, maybe also just do a team offsite, take the team out and do something. Or if you don't get support that maybe from your management, you can just bake a cake and invite the stakeholders and for 2 hours talk about your release and stuff like that. Said that is, as software developers, we are very privileged. I mean, we really build stuff that we can be proud of. It's really something new that our customer uses now, and yeah, we can celebrate on that. But what about our service people at Atlassian? What can they celebrate? Yeah, 500 support tickets. We did it. Woo! So actually, what they actually did, so they wrote down their service values, something that they're very proud of, and that's their values. And they printed that on a poster and put it up in the office. So it's very important for them, these values. But over time, I mean, they did that 2 years ago. And if you look at the poster each day and say, answer and support case, yeah, make the customer awesome, answer and these things get blurry. You look at that and you don't realize that anymore, that this is really important for us. But also our support people, they wanted to celebrate. They wanted to celebrate their team wins. So what they actually did is they say every 14 days we meet in a group and celebrate our cultural rock stars. People that stood up for these values and went over and beyond. So they actually start with maybe writing a poem for these guys, make a rap song or something, or they just take the guitar and sing a song. So I hope this works. This is a video from our celebration. So I hope this works, the sound works. Otherwise I will try put my mic on my speaker here. Wow, isn't that cool? I mean, what do you think how Rick and Jeff felt afterwards, after she took the guitar and sang the song? Well, they felt awesome, because really, when people appreciate our work, that makes us happy. But also, it helps us to focus what's really important, all the stress of the day. This helps us to focus what's really important for us as a team and as an organization. All right, how happy are you? Well, you're probably quite happy. I mean, you're sitting here at Devternity, watching the keynote, not working today, but learning some awesome shit. That's great. So you're probably happy, and you can tell that if you're happy or not. But what about your team? Do you know how happy your team is? Maybe not. I mean, maybe they pretend to be happy, but they're not. So how do organizations find out how happy their employees are? Well, they give you this here. Please fill that out and make a cross if you're happy or not, and we will do something about it. Well, sad that is this sucks and is also very, very slow. I mean, it's really slow feedback that you get. So people can be 11 months unhappy and without noticing it because they haven't filled out this survey here. You should notice it anyway. But anyway, what we said, we want to have faster feedback loops for measuring happiness. So what we did actually in a Ship It Day is we developed this here, the Mood app. So this is an app on the iPad, and where at every exit at Atlassian there's an iPad, and when you leave the office you can say, hey, I'm happy today, I'm not so happy. So we learn actually, and then we measure the happiness, and of course if happiness decreases, we will have to talk to people and see what's wrong, what's happening here, and have to maybe fix some problems. But said that is having the same question all over again, that also is very, very boring. So we adapt the questions. So we also ask questions. Does your manager understand what you like and what you don't like at work? And you can vote for your management, and we're measuring the management. Or after our last end of fiscal year party, we also were asking, hey, how happy are you today? People were happy, but not faring very well. So we open source this. It's on Bitbucket. You can download the Mood app and adopt it for your organization if you want. We're not the only people actually that ask their employees regularly how happy they are. Also, Spotify does that. And Spotify actually asks their people, and they turned out that 91% of their employees were happy. Great, 91%, great number, good, go on. Now, what they did is actually they said, what's with the rest 9%? Why are they not happy? So they talked actually to the unhappy people and asked, hey, why are you not happy? And then they fixed some obvious things that they could fix right away. And then they measured again, and 94% were happy. Well, it's a great number, 94%. And they actually know what the rest 6% was bothering them. You cannot make everyone happy. but 94 is better than 91. Let's talk a little bit about balancing our passion. So let me start with this. Why do we code? Or I can tell it for myself. I want to create great software. I want to really create awesome software. That's why I like to code. I'm creating great stuff. So what do we need for creating great software? Well, let's ask the Swedish chef. What do we need? Good tooling. Yeah, we need good tooling to create great software. We need support from the management. I mean, I don't want to cut my team into half in the middle of the project and said, okay, we keep the deadline, stuff like that. No, I want to support from my management for my project. Of course, we're talking about culture here, so a great culture of respect and trust is very, very important. And then we need some people like the Swedish chef here. We need some passionate and talented developers. So give me that and I create you great software. Great. Why do we code? Because coding, creating makes us happy. Well, there was an important ingredient missing in that picture just. This was the customer. The customer, we create great software. So we create great software to make the customer happy. This makes me happy again if the customer is happy. And we tend to talk about architecture and frameworks, but we tend to forget the customer, that the customer is important here, that we build the software for the customer. And we have great customers at Atlassian. For example, Emmer. Emmer is a customer of ours. She just started with Confluence, so she's new to Confluence, still trying to find her way through. And if we build a new feature, we think about how can we make that easy discoverable for Emmer. How can she use that very, very easy? How can she find that feature very, very easy? So we think about Emmer all the time. But said that is, Emmer is not our only customer. We also have William. And William is a long-time Atlassian user. He used Confluence since 5 years. He knows Confluence inside out. He's actually an administrator. So if we make things easy for Emma, maybe we fuck things up for William. Maybe make it harder for William to use Confluence. So we also have to think about how can we make that good for Williams. Well, said that is, these people, they don't really exist. They are fake. We made them up because we use personas. Personas are representing customers of Atlassian, and we have these personas. So for example, Emmer here, we write everything up that we think about Emmer. So people can really think a little bit like Emma would think. And then we have these cards where we can see what she likes, what she don't like. So we think we can use these here to think a little bit like Emma. And we stick those on walls. They are everywhere at Atlassian. If you go through the office, they are really everywhere. And when I mean really everywhere, I mean really everywhere, even on the bathroom. So we can't really escape from these personas. And people come up with personas, new personas all the time, like Vernon the voyeurist, hanging around the bathrooms. Yes. But also said that is, I mean, if you see these personas all the time, things become blurry. You see, yeah, it's Emory, okay, I know Emory. Yeah. So we had to do something. And what we did is actually, we created these persona cards. So every time we are in this feature discovery session where we talk about how we want to build our software for our customers, we use these cards. So there are questions on the cards that we can raise, and then we play actually cards and say, hey, this is how Emma will use that. And then we argue with these cards. Says, we take this card in our hands and says, yeah, but look at William. William will use it differently. And then we draw our customer journeys on big walls, so they are actually on the hallway in our office in Sydney, and we draw these big customer journeys on it, and people can make notes on that. So people can really give feedback. So everyone in the company can take part on this feature creation workshop. So that makes us, because we're very passionate about what we built. Everyone gives feedback. So be passionate about what you built. That's very important. Be passionate about your software, because actually you spend 8 hours a day at work and building the software. So better be passionate about what you do. And if you do that, if you build great software for your customers, your software will look like this. This is your product. Very shiny, nice. Ooh, looks great. And your customer actually loves this product. He says, so good, so Perfect. But there's this small bug there. Can you just fix that? And it says, yeah, okay, yeah, let me just open the IDE, look at the code, and your code looks like this. Something's wrong here. That's what I mean with balance your passion. I mean, passion for the customer, but also passion for the code, because we are actually engineers, and we have values. And it's very important to write down your engineering values. So I give you a few examples of Atlassian's engineering. I think 3 values. We have, I think, 6, 7 values. So I give you just 3 examples what I mean by engineering values. So for example, if you see code like this here, and I've seen that actually in every code base, I think. So you give it a Boolean and it returns and doesn't do actually anything. But I've seen that actually in every code base. We have a value that said, don't write crappy code. So you're not allowed to write crappy code. Even if people come to you and say, can you do that in one day? We really need that tomorrow. Can you write this? I know it's a hack and stuff like that. But I know you can do that. Say no. Say no if you know that you will never have time to go back and fix what you just did. And say no if you think this will harm the code. And point out to the value. Don't write crappy code. That's a value that we have. So, another code example. Voice a for loop, goes over array, looks in the zip file, looks if the name in the array is in the zip file, and returns true if it found something. I think this code is okay. It's fine. Maybe you can improve it, yes, but I think it's okay. But what if you use Java 8? You should use the streams. So if you use Java 8, you should use the streams. Looks much better, much more concise, much more readable. So use the streams. Always look for a better solution. Always look for a better solution. That's another value that we have. Are people from Brazil here? No. Okay, then I can show the next slide. It's okay. It happened. I'm from Germany, so. But said that is, so the result is not so important. Well, maybe it is. But anyway, so if you see here the scoreboard, not every scorer fit on the scoreboard. So a scorebar would be a solution, but not good for television, actually. So always try and find better ways. Try and find better ways. Always do that. That's another engineering value that we have. And you probably have people in your team that are very passionate, that say, a better way is for example, moving from Maven 2 to Maven 3, maybe that's better, we should do that. Let's work on it for the next week. Let's forget about our sprint goals. Let's do that, that's very important. And you argue with them all the time, and I call them the prima donnas. And they are don't get me wrong, prima donnas are very important. They are very, very passionate, very technical people. People look up to the prima donnas. But we should actually put our passion into our product. That's another engineering value that we have. Don't put passion into just discussions about technologies. At the end, we should put the passion in the product. So if you have discussing code review with a prima donna says yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, say, hey, point out to that value here. Put your passion, turn your passion into the products. That's very important. So it's not important what we have as engineering values. That's not what I wanted to show you. But just to give you an idea what engineering values, how important it is to write them down. To say, hey, these are the values that we stand for. And if people come to you and say, or if you have an endless discussion with your prima donna, you can point out, actually, look at that, turn your passion into product. Actually, the Bitbucket team has printed their own engineering values on a big poster, and it's in their team room. There's a big poster hanging with the engineering values, so they can really say, hey, turn your passion into products, or don't write crappy code. So this is what I mean with balancing your passion. I mean, on one hand, code is very important. On the other hand, we also have to rewrite the code actually for the customer. So we have to constantly balance that. All right, let's talk a little bit about being one team. Talk a little bit about teams actually. 12. 12 is seems to be the natural team size. I don't say it's a good team size for engineering teams. I'll come to that later. But 12 seems to be the natural team size back in the Stone Age when we were hunting the mammoth. We were around 12 people. So it seems to be good. Another number. 150. 150 is around Dunbar's number. And Dunbar's number, it's a number between 120, 180, but Dunbar's number tells us how many stable relationships we can maintain. So if organizations grow above this 150, 120, 180 phase, what's happening? We get silos. We get our cool people over there here, that's us, software developers, and then we have the legal people here. They don't understand us. So we have these silos. And silos is really a problem. But we want to bring those people together. So if we are a developer, and we say, okay, let's go to the legal department and ask if we can use this open source library, look at the license, legal people, read through them, and they say, nope, you're not allowed to do that. So, you don't understand us. We save so much time with using that library, and the legal people still say, nope, we don't want that license. It's time to bring those people a little bit better together. So if you think about your legal person like this here, it's an anonymous person, he says no, you get angry. But if your legal person looked like, oh, yeah, well, let's go to his desk and let's talk about it. Let's talk things out and explain a little bit more thoroughly. Let's get some understanding here. Let's talk together and then understand each other better. So how do you make people more aware of themselves or more aware of other people? So we do that. We write introductory blog posts. So if a new people starts, task in the first week is to write an introductory blog post. So we know who's starting. This is actually not a legal person. This is Benjamin. He's a designer. And then we share some personal stuff on that blog post. Benjamin plays the guitar here. And then we can also start discussions with Benjamin to see, hey, you playing soccer, great. So we have this soccer team. Every Thursday we come together and play soccer. So to get more personal touch here, actually, to the new starters and to the whole company. And that makes actually the company very transparent, and transparency is very important for us. We share everything, our wins, our fails, our decisions, our questions that we have. So for example, our wins. Our design team has won this design award and says, oh, they're proud. So they're blogging about it, everyone can read that, everyone can like the blog post, so they are sharing that. Also our fails. So we're doing 20% time, and Nick is actually pointing out here that 20% time is broken, so 20% of our time we can use on our projects. So why 20% time is broken? But at the same time, he asking the question, so how can we fix it? How can we fix that problem? Because we know that this is important for us. Or for example, our questions that we have. So our co-founder, Scott Farquhar, he recently posted about how do you want to see Atlassian in the year 2016? What should Atlassian look like for you in the year 2016? And if you see that, we got 182 answers. And then we could upvote answers. So one of the most upvoted answer was that we wanted to open source somehow our culture. That would be great to bring that to the world. Or if you probably know that you come together, the whole company comes together, and then you have, we call that all hands, where we come together, and then here Mike Cannon-Brooks, our other CEO, rocks up the stage, tells us a little bit of how the company is doing, and then at the end he says, question anyone? And I mean, there are always the same people that ask questions. I'm not that person. I'm always afraid in the whole audience to ask questions, because could be, first, maybe my question is stupid, or maybe I'm too provocative and I get fired the next day, so I don't do that. And a lot of people have that, actually, have that they are a little bit afraid to publicly ask questions. So what we do is you can submit before the all hands your questions, and then we can upvote questions. And no matter how provocative your question is, Mike and Scott, our co-founders, have to answer the top 15 questions that come up. They have to answer all the questions. So that makes us very, very transparent. And transparency is very important for us. But you also have to know your transparency enemies. So what's a transparency enemy here? What kills your transparency? So for example, the phone. If you discuss things on the phone, it's not documented. You have to write down what you just said. Email. Ooh. There's so many information buried in everyone's inbox. It's totally not transparent. Or in the States, it's the water cooler. In Germany, it would be the coffee table where things get discussed. But you also have to document that. That's also not very, very transparent. So actually, what we did actually to make the company or make the teamwork more transparent is to use chat. Because every team at Atlassian has its own chat room. So you discuss things in the chat room, so everyone can take part of it, no matter if they are in the office or not. Maybe they are in a meeting and come back. So the history is stored in the chat room, so you can go back and see what has been discussed the last hour, and you can say, hey, great, I have another opinion here. And then we create not only team rooms to connect people, but also expert rooms. So these are our topic chat rooms. So for example, our build engineering team that is responsible for all the builds within Atlassian, so build server, set them up, they have actually their own chat room where you can go in and discuss things or ask questions if you have some, because all the experts, all the topics experts are here in that room. And that's pretty cool, because I don't have to know a name or a telephone number or see if somebody is on vacation or not, or just in the office. I can just go into that room, ask my question. I'm sure I'm meeting the experts there and get an answer right away. And then we also connect our systems. So we get informed, get notifications what's happening in our software development. So we connect our systems to our chat rooms. So some bots here. So for example, we can see if somebody does a pull request and discuss that. Maybe you want to be invited to that pull request, so you can ask the author of the pull request in the chat room directly to add you as a reviewer. Our build server notifications are in the chat room, so we can see if the build fails and just discuss who should fix it. Then our deployments, if somebody deploys something, or our exceptions, so we use Sentry for capturing our exceptions, and we can actually discuss if there's an exception on the production system, we can discuss what just happened and who should fix it and stuff like that. So transparency brings actually people together. It brings people together, and this is very important. And it also, I'm a remote worker, and transparency helps also to spread your culture to every office around the world. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is a little bit how to scale culture. As I said, 350 when I started, 1,700 now. Culture has truly changed. So how do we scale? 12. I said 12 is the natural team size. I don't think it's good for developer teams or engineering teams. Our teams are around 6 to 8 people. And 6 to 8 people mean 8 is really the extreme maximum size, I think. It means developers. So there we have designers, QA people, product managers are inside this group of 6 to 8 people. And maybe you have a designer that helps you in your group, but maybe you don't need this designer anymore. So he can go or she can go to the next team and help them. So you can go from one team to another very easily. You have probably your core, but designers are moving from one team to another, like QA people. But sometimes maybe you need to ask the designers, hey, can you help us out? So he can work for you or she can work for you in your team for a day or something. And then if you scale, for example, Jira now has over 20 teams. You have to working on one product, so you have to separate your team somehow. How do you do that? That's really a tricky question. So what we actually do, and what's pretty successful for us, to have these, not these expert teams like front-end developer, back-end developer, database experts. We have the theme teams where we can say, so this is, for example, some Confluence teams here. One team cares about to easily start with Confluence. So for people who don't use Confluence every day, to make this every feature very discoverable. Then we have a team that cares deeply about enterprise customers, so big customers. Probably also performance is a very, very hot topic for them, but also how to represent, 10,000 users in the administration mask, stuff like that. And then we have a team that cares about developers on Confluence, so better integration between our development tools, Jira or Bitbucket, into Confluence. And these teams work relatively autonomous. So one used a tool, and the other one doesn't use a tool for that at all. That's fine. That's good. just one team does daily stand-ups and the other team just meet whenever it's necessary, no rules there, because our teams are autonomous. But sometimes it's great to work in your autonomous team, but sometimes maybe you need support from another team. You need some help. A team that wrote the mobile client. Maybe you want to change something, so you go to the team lead of this team and ask, hey, can we get support, please, from your team? And the team lead says, yeah, sure. I mean, we're all cool people at Atlassian, sure. But you have to wait 2 sprints because we have other priorities to do. How do we deal with that? Well, 3 words. Just do it. So we just go in, can change the code, and we just do it to move forward. And we call that a duocracy. And our duocracy is actually built on autonomy on the one hand and trusting that we don't fuck things up on the other hand. You might say now, okay, with 20 teams working on Jira, everyone works autonomous, that can go crazy. And it can. And that's why we actually add transparency to the mix. So we didn't want to have a big process, so we said, okay, we're adding transparency. So let me explain what I mean by that. So for example, Sharif here, product manager for Confluence, he wanted to do some new page layouts for Confluence, and he wrote up this specification here. And then he shared the specification with all other Confluence people, even with the whole company. So there were a lot of discussions here around this feature that we want to implement. So his idea or his team's idea became actually a whole company idea. And we got some feedback also from people that had nothing to do actually with development. And then the next phase, okay, we have our transparent process or our transparency for having the specification ready. We're changing the code. And sometimes you have to change other people's code. Pretty often you have to do that, even though there is no such thing like other people's code. I mean, we have a collective code ownership. But how do we make sure that we don't fuck things up in the code? We should do code reviews. So we're doing code reviews. But who are actually the best people to look at the code that I just changed? Who are the best person to invite as a reviewer to my code review? We're thinking the same thing. So we wrote an add-on for Bitbucket Server. And it's called Auto-Suggest Reviewers. So this add-on is free. It suggests reviewers automatically based on if they are the original author or if they have recently changed the file. You get these suggestions for these reviewers. So these are actually the best persons to review the code. So code, transparent, process, great. Let's move on. Now we're done with the feature and we're checking the feature. And what we not do is actually a big QA process. Actually, QA is sitting inside just this meeting, these demos that we regularly do. So these are state of the development demos, and QA is just taking part here and looking at what we did, how we tested it. And these demos are regularly, they are very open, so everyone in the company can participate. And there you get honest feedback. So if you see one team is struggling, you can say, okay, good, let's move 2 developers from that team to that team, that they can move on, that then they don't work in the silo. So very transparent also here on the QA side. Okay, good. So transparency, as I said, we don't have a big process. Transparency gives us a lightweight process. And also this helps us actually to scale by trying to keep our development speed at Atlassian. All right, I'm shooting a little bit over time here, so sorry for that. What I've been talking about? Well, I've talked about our culture. And, well, so I talked a little bit about transparency, autonomy, and trust, balance your passion, have the customer in mind, and be one team. And now that I talked for 48, nearly 50 minutes, you know what culture is, do you? No. It's still fluffy. It's still this thing here, but it's also alive. Culture changes, as I said. Culture changes. But what we really had at Atlassian, or have at Atlassian, we wanted to keep that. So how do you keep your culture a little bit in a direction? I mean, you cannot keep the culture when you are 3 persons or 100 persons. It's a different culture. But how do you keep the same your culture in the same direction? So we wanted to give it a little bit more rememberable names. So transparency is great, but we say not transparency, we say, hey, open company, no bullshit. Or autonomy and trust, we say, hey, be the change you seek. Or be one team, play as a team, balance your passion, build with heart and balance, and have the customer in mind. We say, don't fuck the customer. And these is not our culture, these are our values, the values that we created. And these values gives our culture actually much more stability. So it's a stability factor for our culture. And you can ask every Atlassian around the world, what are your 5 values, and they can tell it to you from the top of their head, because these values are so important. We remind people, everyone. So they come up in every discussion and say, hey, but this fucks the customer, so we have to do a different approach here. So we remind people always, so this is hanging in the ceiling in the San Francisco kitchen, so people got reminded always. Okay, one more thing. And it has actually to do with Apple, and Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, a few years ago, announced Ping as social network for music. Great. Well, probably a passionate team working on Ping all the time and very passionate to make that happen, make that product into iTunes. Where's Ping now? It's gone. It's not there anymore. They removed it from iTunes. Was not a success because products will come and go. And maybe Jira is not there anymore in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. We don't know. But we know at Atlassian that we can build the next big cool thing with the people that we have. Because we know also products come and go. But our culture is so important for us, and the culture will stay at the end. Thank you very much. 3 questions. Okay. Who should I pick? Question? Anyone? If no question? You want to know what I'm doing as an evangelist? Okay. Good question. I can tell it. So I'm traveling around and talking about Atlassian, our tools, our culture. That's it. I mean, just making aware that we are there and we're still doing software. That's what I do. Do I write some code? That's a good question. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm participating in ShipIt all the time. I have my 20% project, but that's actually it. So I don't write. They won't let me. I don't have write access at Jira or something, the Jira code base. They won't let me because I'm just working on and off between traveling on code. But I'm still trying things out. Yeah, I still write some code. Yeah, but not in a team that writes code all the time. Last question in the back. Okay, so I think the question is that with this transparency culture, that we're reading blog posts all the time, that we're chatting all the time, how do we make sure that we have some production time on writing code? That's a good question. So I just can't tell how engineers handle that at Atlassian. So of course, you need some productive time. So if you read all the blog posts, I'm reading actually every blog post, and I know a lot of engineers does too. It's a little bit like in the morning you open up and read. It's a little bit like the newspaper. So we have around 15 new blog posts each day, and it's a little bit like reading articles from the newspaper. It truly takes you half an hour of your work, probably 15 minutes, half an hour to read all the things that you're interested in. But it's important for us. I think this is a good investment in time to know what's going on inside Atlassian and also what other teams are doing for cool stuff. I mean, that's really important. Normally it's just the hallway conversations that you have, where you get to know all this stuff. But here you have it really written down in a blog post, and I think this time is good investment. And if, of course, chat is you can turn off chat, you can turn off email to get some productive time, and people are doing that. They sometimes they work from home, not coming to work if they really want to concentrate on stuff. Turn off their emails, turn on their chats. You have to take this. It's always a balance, of course, between being transparent and also have your concentration time. But if there are some teams take that differently. Some teams make that on an individual basis. Some teams say we are not available for questions or something between, I don't know, 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. and we just have concentration time there and do stuff. Some people say some teams doesn't do that. That's our autonomy. So every team has to figure out how to deal with that. But every team is aware that this transparency is our culture, and it's very important. It has brought us where we are, and so this is very important for us as an organization, and that we live that culture, that openness, and that transparent culture. That this is very important for us. So not being transparent and just concentrate on work is not an option for us. All right, thank you very much. I'm still here. Coffee break. Ask me questions. Thanks.